Leadership isn't just changing, it's evolving in ways we're only just beginning to imagine. And women, we're not playing this game anymore. We're the ones reshaping the entire field, building models, movements, and businesses that serve more than just a few. On the She Leads podcast, you'll hear real conversations with women who've broken through all kinds of barriers: revenue, identity, borders, and expectations. There's no sugarcoating here, just the truth, told by those who are living it. I'm Adrienne Garland, entrepreneur, strategist, educator, and creator of live experiences, gathering women leaders together for over a decade. And this is the She Leads podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I would like to ask a favor. If you haven't done so already, before you listen in, please pause and take just a minute to give the show a 5-star rating and review. It's so important to share the journeys, wisdom, and lessons of the women entrepreneurs and leaders that we are featuring here on the She Leads podcast. And the best way to do that is to rate, review, and share the show with anyone who's interested in seeing more women leaders in this world. I know I am. Thank you so much for helping to share our incredible show with more people. Okay, so let's get into it. I am so excited to welcome my next guest. Her name is Meghann Butcher, and she's the CEO and founder of RepSpark Systems, the premier B2B e-commerce platform for the apparel and footwear industries. Since co-founding the company 17 years ago, Meghann has revolutionized wholesale by replacing inefficient manual processes with innovative digital solutions, including digital catalogs and integrated payments. She's a Vanderbilt graduate and a top 50 women leader of LA. And she's led RepSpark to the Inc. 5000 list for 4 consecutive years. Amazing. Beyond her strategic leadership, Meghann champions a culture of work-life balance. She's a dedicated mother of 3 that balances her high-impact career with a passion for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Meghann, it sounds like you do it all. And I am so excited to welcome you here to our special show today.
It's funny you said that because as you said balancing, and I was like, oh, I don't know if we're really balancing everything, but trying to do it all.
Trying to keep everything and everybody afloat.
I know. As you read that, I was like, huh. Okay.
Yeah, from the outside, it looks like you're balancing. We all know what it's funny, like even in yoga, you talk about these poses that are balance poses. And if you really, yourself, and then you look around at other people, nobody's standing still. They're all, wobbly, just kind of trying to hold it together. So if that's what balance is, then that's what balance is.
Did it this morning and felt the exact same way.
Yeah, wobbly. So how did you conceptualize RepSpark? Because it's truly a game changer. I actually know this firsthand because I work with somebody and we actually do the wholesale process pretty manually right now. And it takes a lot of time. Mistakes can definitely happen. So I'd love to actually hear about RepSpark and what it is. And then also, how did you come to create this incredible solution?
Yeah, so at RepSpark, we are B2B wholesale e-commerce. So we provide the conduit for the brand manufacturer, really an apparel, footwear, accessories. We focus a lot on the golf vertical, action sports, outdoor, and performance outerwear, which is a lot of times like safety, tactical, those kind of apparel companies. And we provide the conduits to the software where the sales reps or those B2B buyers, meaning like, a surf shop or a green grass shop on a golf course, they can come in, they can view that manufacturer's products, inventory, pricing, all that information, place and manage their orders. So it's kind of end to end. They can also create digital catalogs and assortments to present those orders. And then there's an order management piece on the back where those same users, so those same user profiles can go in, check orders, track packages, just really that end-to-end self-serve
Yeah.
platform. And that's what we are. It started with so my dad has owned probably 7 different apparel and footwear companies along the way.
Wow.
And at one point he had an entity that I think owned like 5. And so I have just been brought up in this industry for forever. Loved wholesale. I think I was over at his office when I was like 5, probably bugging
Mm.
everybody in the warehouse and trying to do things. So I just loved it. I loved all aspects of it. I worked in retail for a little while just to understand it better. And like I said, I mean, I was always trying to help with the sales operations, sales organizations. I'm just really interested in how those businesses ran. Went to college, graduated from college, decided like any, 22-year-old, I'm not going to work for my dad. I'm going to go do my own thing.
No. Yep.
So, went my own thing for a while, but I was always doing the stuff on the side. Like, I was always helping with all the sales operations, with, again, streamlining it. How can we make this better? And so my dad and his CTO at that time had kind of cobbled together this kind of order entry platform. And he brought me in. He was like, "What do you think? How can we make this better? Like, what are you thinking? You've been doing a lot of the sales ops kind of on the side." And so we made it a little bit better. And what happened in this industry is there's a lot of independent reps. So they'll rep for, a water
Yes.
bottle company and a sunglass company, a footwear company. So they'll rep for multi different brands. And a couple of the sales reps who was using it for the companies that my dad owned came back and said, "Can I have it for this flip brand?" Or, "This is helping my life so much. Can I have it for this water bottle brand?" My dad kind of looked at me. He's an apparel manufacturer, not a tech guy. And he was like, "Do you want to run with this?" And at that point, I was about 27. I was like, "Yeah, why not? Sure, I'll run with
Yeah.
it." And it's been a lot of fun. We grew to about 30 customers just without even sales and marketing. And then just really started doubling down and figuring out, like, how do we build a software company? What does this look like? How do we be scalable? How are we secure? How do
Wow.
we really focus on this? And I think that, the biggest thing was we've always been extremely close to our customers. We've always
Mm.
tried to really understand what they need and how to solve their pain points,
Mm.
and how to make their days easier so they get to do what they love to do better. Which is
Which
not
is
entering
sell.
orders,
Yeah.
which is
No.
selling and whatever they're doing, which is not sitting and entering orders and looking up inventory and, you know, then getting confirmation back that the order's wrong or their inventory or that color doesn't even exist anymore. So just really streamlining that whole end-to-end process.
That's amazing, and, listen, I was not as aware of what these processes are like until I really started, working with the person that I work with right now, and it's sort of mind-boggling that there still is in the B2B wholesale industry, many people that are still doing things manually. It's kind of mind-blowing. Why is that?
I don't know, and it is really interesting to me. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different ERPs that people use, which if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of the big mind that keeps all the data for these companies. So you have to connect into that, and you need to make sure that everything is accurate and timely and moving quickly. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that a lot of the sales reps are independent, but you'd think that would want to make this more streamlined. Um, I don't know. I don't know if it's like apparel's complicated. You have sizes, you have colors, you have SKUs, you have um, seasonality, you have price changes. There's all sorts of rules. So I don't know if that's part of it, but I
Yeah.
mean, we are closing this year many big deals where they are, close to over 50, $100 million companies that are still using,
Yeah.
very archaic or spreadsheets. And it
Yeah.
every time it blows my mind. I'm like, how are you still doing this? So,
Yeah. It's
it's
incredible.
interesting. I think people also like once you get in the apparel, the new up and coming brands are always like the first to adopt
Yeah.
like this, but then the older ones, I think they're just, they're embedded in their processes and, potentially they don't know that there's a better way. And so
Right.
that's fine, that's fun. in the sales process, trying to show them like how easy it can it be,
Yes.
without saying it like that. So yeah.
Now, how did you I don't know. Did you have any type of background in technology or anything? No.
I did not. And I always think about that. I'm like, how did this happen? Like
Yeah. How did
what
it
happened?
happen?
And I think there's two types of CEOs, especially in software. There's the very technical, like techie ones, and then they need to have a really strong operator, but they have like more of the tech vision. And I have always been more of the product vision. So,
Mhm.
what being very empathetic to our customers, to the users, like being very close that way. And then being able to translate that type of vision to someone who is a lot more technical and is going to actually, do the coding.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting because I majored in psychology and communications, but psychology, I always think I'm like, every person who wants to lead a company should actually take psychology classes because I find
Agreed.
myself leaning back on that more than any technical skill really that I've been able to pick up. So,
It's
yeah.
funny because I do think, companies are made up of human beings, and all human beings think about things and see things through their own
Yeah.
lens. And you, as the CEO, must empathize with your customers, right? First and foremost, but also your employees who really are also your customers. They're the ones that keep this engine going. And so it's super interesting. I was actually interviewing somebody for this podcast earlier this week, and she is the CEO of a major airport, and she also came out of a degree in communications and public relations. And I said to her, it's funny because you don't often hear the story of the pipeline, somebody who's in communications becoming a CEO. It's maybe like a CFO or the like an operations person becoming a CEO. But she said, hold on, because communication is the most important skill that you need to have when you're running a business full of people.
Yeah, it is really interesting, especially in tech. You don't really hear that. It's
No.
very technical or like visionary, type person who's techie.
Yeah.
And that's super important too, but I do think, like, being able to communicate a problem to a vision to somebody to now make that vision come true is really
Yeah.
important, and that was the path I went through. I mean, at one point in time, there was 2 of us. We had our CTO, and he would write code, and I would look at it, or he would, push something to production. I was testing it. So, I can read it, I can test it, but it was I don't have that background.
Yeah.
I kind of think sometimes I need to go back and get it, but we'll see. We'll see.
I
One
don't
day,
know. Yeah.
right?
I don't know if you need to get it now, especially with all of the advances that are coming out with
Yep.
AI. Not that we don't need humans. We always, I believe, will need humans, but some of even just like the basic coding and things, you don't even need somebody for. It's more of the advanced, things and nuances that you want to bake into the product. And I think in a lot of ways that is empowering, because if you do have the vision, if you do understand the needs of your customer, and you believe that you can create an elegant solution, then you have the tools available now. It's I think, I don't know, I haven't done it myself, but I think that it might be easier for people to at least get to that first stage. So, and sort of in that vein, getting to that first stage, what was that like for you, and how did you sort of test it? You had the ability to test it internally, but then the moment that you took it externally and showed it to someone that didn't love you,
Yeah. Yeah.
what was that moment like?
It was a little scary. We had some really great customers, and some of them are still customers today. I mean, we
Wow.
had some really good. You talk about the people and the humans. really good humans at some of these brands that worked with us, were patient. You have to think 20 or 17, 18 years ago, there wasn't software like there is now. So people I think were
No.
a little more patient. They were it was groundbreaking and people wanted to be a part of it. It was really exciting and really scary. I mean, I can't tell you how many nights I stayed up till, all night, 5 in the morning with our, 2 engineers pushing code and me trying to test it. Remember, there was no automation, like, even
No.
in today, and I'd be sitting up. We worked with a team in India, and I have twins, so my boys are, like, 2, and I'd be up, I'd set my alarm clock, feed them, go do my thing, go back to bed. So, it was fun and it was exciting and, maybe it was better I didn't know what I didn't know and, just trying to solve these problems. It's always been what it's about. So, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
That sounds like a lot, right? But I think when we are passionate about solving problems and you being able to see the outcomes that you're making people's lives easier, right? You're allowing more transactions to happen in a much more smooth manner so that people aren't manually entering things and wasting time, really, right? You're giving people back time. It's just, I can imagine it's so satisfying. So, what was your strategy for growing and scaling? Was it just a matter of, "Hey, look, we've built this platform. There might be some kinks in here, but we're working them out," and just sort of onboarding people onto the platform and proving that, "Hey, this works."
That was it. I mean, just onboarding, growing organically as we could. We're still bootstrapped. We've been bootstrapped since
Mhm.
the beginning. Looking at where the most impactful place to put your time, your energy, the money that you do have. You had to look at each hire in the beginning. What was gonna be the most impactful at this moment? Because you probably
Yeah.
needed 10 different, strengths, and then, constantly replacing for myself, as the first, you're kinda like, "Hey, what am I really bad at?" And, like, "What does someone else need to be doing?" Or, "What does someone else need to be doing?" And just kinda growing that way. Um, it's interesting. I think if we would have taken a lot of investment on in the very beginning, it could have gone a different path, but I'm really happy with how we've grown, and it's been extremely intentional, and, um our group's just amazing. I mean, the team around
Uh-huh,
us
uh-huh.
now and really a lot of our employees have been here a long, long time. I mean, it's really cool what they've done and what they've been able to do, and some days I'm like, "Do they even need me anymore?" Like, what am I
Well,
do
isn't that truly the goal though, especially as the CEO, the founder, the visionary? If you're not working, in the business as much, that allows you to think, "Okay, what's next?" Right? Because there's always something that's next.
Yes, and I think that they don't like when I have that time because I'm like, "Okay, guys, I got it." So, no, but
Yeah.
it is. That's really important. I mean, I have such amazing people and they come together like a team and we talk about everything, and they're killing it. I mean, they
Wow.
get to now tell me my ideas are great or not such a great idea or not right now, and it's awesome.
How do you see RepSpark evolving? So there's obviously going to be there's so much more growth and so much more opportunity as is, but where do you see the sort of the industry going and growing? Because there are so many different tools and technologies that are connecting all of this stuff, and there's some other players out there, which is good. Means there's room for everyone. But where do you see the business sort of growing into?
Yes, so for us, like, we do really well with brands that I like to say they're like passion brands or lifestyle brands that are
Mm,
not just like fast fashion or fashion in a I don't know, retail that's, um in a mall or something.
sure.
We do really well with brands that are attached to people who have a passion for golf, for surfing, for skiing, for hunting, whatever you're into or not into. Um, but we do really well with those types of brands that are in locations attached to, like, people with a passion. Like, let's take golf.
Mm,
I always say, like, we do really well with golf because those people in those pro shops or those humans, they don't wanna be placing an order, they wanna be doing their next
no.
golf lesson, or they wanna be
Yes.
doing their next thing. And, so we do really well with, like, golf, resort, I say country club sports and, like, pickleball, tennis. Um, so just really niching down on those areas that we do really well with. We're the only platform that can do kind of that customization. So moving into the corporate world, corporate gifting, that's getting so big right now. And a lot of
Mm,
brands want to be part of the corporate space. And so, and those are
yes.
areas we already excel in. So, really niching into that and becoming like the true commerce layer for those verticals that we serve really well.
Hey everyone. So, for years, I've been working with Dr. Kent and sending people in my network his way. He does so much impact work. What do I mean by that? Well, he helps people create books and podcasts and things like that. He even helps with this podcast behind the scenes. Dr. Kent is my thought partner. Anyone listening knows that we all need to do what we can to get our thoughts, opinions, and voices out into the world, and how important it is for women to invest in other women and for women to hire other women. I am all about that, and you all know that. But in this case, I think Dr. Kent is an exception. He's doing something really different via this new program that he's launched called the Genius Discovery Program. So he wants to work with people like me and like you who are impact driven. Dr. Kent has an intensive program that goes for a month. He also has a 3-month program where he figures out where you're headed with your brand, your business, your speaking, and your signature story as a thought leader. I've known Dr. Kent for a long time. So believe me when I say that he has a ton of experience working with people that are looking to make an impact but might not know exactly how to approach that. So if you're interested in talking to him, you can go directly to talktokent.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at She Leads Media, or just shoot me an email over at hello@sheleadsmedia.com.
Does it help the brands who, I guess, list their companies? Does it help them to get in front of some of these, you know, sports retailers, if you will, that they might not otherwise be able to get in front of? Is that also the benefit? Because it's really two-sided, right?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so we call it our community. It's not really a marketplace, it's a one-sided community, but
Okay.
brands can pay to play to have, like, a big spot on it. We always feature our new brands who are coming on just so the retailers are have the opportunity to see who's coming on, and then they can access and switch between the different brands. So we see new brands that kinda go live in the community. We do a newsletter to I think we have about 100,000 retailers actively transacting through the platform now.
Oh my
Uh
goodness. Wow.
yeah, so we do a newsletter out to those, letting them know, "Hey, this new brand's on." And so new brands, when they go live on the community, typically will have like 10 to 100 access requests within the first
Mm,
2 months. So that's leads that are requesting access. Um,
yeah.
we're not a lead gen tool. We've had problems with brands coming on just thinking it's lead gen, but it's not. It's really like facilitating that transaction.
Mm,
Within the golf space, AGM did a survey, and of the green grass shops, 30 to 40% of them will go to RepSpark first to find new brands. So they'll
wow.
go into the community and say, "Hey, I need a new hat brand or a belt brand or something. What's a new belt brand? Oh, Next Belt. This looks cool." They can put a, catalog up, they can do whatever, and then request access, and then that brand can go ahead and accept that access, go through whatever process they go through, um, and accept that buyer, and now that buyer's purchasing. So it's cool. When we walk around the PGA show, a lot of
Yeah.
brands will come up and say, "Well, apparently I need to be on you because, the floor is not gonna stock us in their shop unless we're on RepSpark." So Once
Oh,
you hear
right.
that, you're like, "Great, this is awesome." So,
That's such a great strategy too, because if the people in the pro shops that are placing all of the orders, they have to deal with a multitude of brands. And if they have to do something that's one off, it's exactly what you're saying. They don't want to be doing that. They want to be out on the golf course. So I love that it's like by default, a brand has got to be on there if they
yeah,
wanna be included in these
in these
large
stores,
golf
yeah.
shops. Yeah, yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, we're getting there with some of these other verticals that we're, leaning into, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's they're the same. They don't wanna be, in that shop. Even if you think of a ski shop, like, those guys are probably in the ski shop because they like to snowboard, or, you
Sure.
know, the girl likes to ski or cross country ski or whatever they're doing, and that's probably why they are in that store.
Yeah.
And so let's make their job easier, faster, more transparent, make an impact in their life. So now they're either,
Yeah.
checking out new things, helping customers, or they get to close shop and go do what they want to do. So,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
And you as the CEO and founder of RepSpark, what do you sort of see as your impact beyond what it is that you're doing? So you're building this amazing company that solves incredible problems and you're creating real value. And then like you said, there's space that you're also sort of opening. I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, like, okay, I built this company. What other things might I be able to do? Maybe what other solutions are opportunities that are out there, or where do you see yourself as the founder of this company going in the future?
I mean, that's a hard question, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many things to do. I'm hoping that we have a
Mhm.
company that continues to grow and sustain and keep the culture that we have. It's it's pretty cool. I mean, it's unique, and I'd like to be a leader that people can like, wow, she's honest. She has integrity. She's still a mom, which I think, being a
Yeah.
mom in a C is it's every day I'm like, what hat where what hat every day,
Where
every
am I?
what hat am I putting on right now? And you can't do it all. There's trade-offs, and talking about that I think is really important.
Mhm.
And then just where we can go, I mean, there's so much like adding the cool things on our roadmap with, AI, and, just
Yeah.
making sure that people are even more intelligent, putting those trends across the different like I said, 90,000 retailers actively transacting, and how can we make their lives easier? How can we, um, make everybody, faster, make everybody more intelligent in what they're doing? Let's get rid of those manual tasks. I mean, gosh, nobody
Yeah.
think it's fun to, like, sit and re-enter an order. That's what I always think. I'm like, "Oh god, people are doing that? Like, that
Yeah.
sounds horrendous. Like, let's get them doing something cool." So,
Yeah, and it's like 25 steps just to process an order and things that you don't even think exist. You are like checking and rechecking and making sure and even after the order is sort of, entered, there's also the like, you know, making sure that everything is getting delivered properly and all of that
I'm
good stuff. I can also imagine that there's so much intelligence in the platform just by what people are ordering. So, what's the hot item? What's coming up next? What are people starting to ask about? I could see RepSpark being a thought leader in that realm as well.
Yep, we have that as an initiative for this year. I think we'll be releasing our first trend report. Yeah, we
Cool.
can get that data faster than anybody else can. Like I said, we have the pre-book orders coming in, which typically don't.
Mm,
So in wholesale, pre-book orders will come in January. They're selling fall or holiday of that same year. So we have that information, 3 to 6 months before
mm,
those products are ever hitting the floor. I
yeah.
mean, some of the pre-book times are adjusting too, but yeah, just the trending information that we have, and what sizes and silhouettes are looking like, what color trends, are vests going to be really popular, this and that. And, how do we utilize that data just to make everyone smarter?
Yeah, and even, entrepreneurs that are in this space too, it's something that I would imagine that they would be looking at as well because they don't wanna launch, just another company that does the same thing. If they're starting to see, a trend in a certain direction, then, that can offer them insight to really start developing something that they see as just emerging. So, I see that this is, another layer of value in what it is that you're offering. When I talk to women that are in your position, CEOs of growing, thriving companies, I often hear right now you're super busy with all of your children and everything, but at a certain point, it's sort of like there's not a lot of women that are in the same position in their lives as you. And so I hear a lot of it's lonely. I wish that there were more women that were on my level, like not, not saying that you're high and mighty, but sort of, just at that level professionally that understand some of the types of decisions that we have to make because the way that we as women make decisions is different than the way that men make decisions, and I'm saying that as a very broad sweeping statement. So where do you sort of, who do you turn to as far as colleagues that are in that same position as you are?
I'm in a group called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and that has been really great. My forum, my groups, men and women. So it's good to just kind of have that feedback and that, where's my blind side here? What am I not seeing? That's great. Husband is just the best person in the entire world. So
Oh,
I give a ton of feedback. I'm like, help me out here. What's happening? But like you said, he processes different. He'll, kind
yeah.
of be like, here's how you can fix it. I'm like, no, I don't really want to fix it. I just need you to do this. So um, that's great. I have 2 women on my leadership team that are you can only share so much with them, but a lot, and they're great. I mean, they're huge drivers of our business, and then I do have a network of colleagues that I can reach out to, and, there's another woman CEO who kinda has a similar position, and we'll talk and be like, "What's going on? Like, what are you seeing?" And, it's
Yeah.
different, but, um I think that men and women do make decisions a little bit differently, especially when it comes to, children and the home life with the work. I
Yeah.
think that there's a lot more similarities if you can cut through the drama and all the rest of it. It's, we're just trying to do our best and everyone's just trying to make the right decisions. And um, as long as you have people who are excited about what you're doing and your company, then again, just we discuss it a lot as a group, like, our leadership's
Mm.
very open.
Mm. And that goes back to communication and probably something that you do very naturally and in setting the tone that this is how we're going to approach these types of issues, challenges, and opportunities. And, I think that that's an incredible skill to have. Not all CEOs have that ability to communicate across the organization, upward, downward, outward. And so it sounds like RepSpark is truly a remarkable organization.
We're trying. We are
Yeah.
trying. We are learning every day. It's a balancing act between how transparent you wanna be, especially when you're a bootstrapped growing company and,
Yeah.
how much you wanna share, and, like I said, it's the team members on our leadership team are like, "Yes, we should probably share this." I'm like, "Are you sure it's not gonna freak everyone out or get everyone too excited?" And,
Right.
it's great. The transparency and the communication has only gotten better, I would say, the last couple years, and just growing and learning from that. One of our values is better together, and a key part of that, though,
Mhm.
is being drama-free and humbly confident, and those are, like,
Mm.
my 2 favorite pieces of our value statement is, like, be confident in what we're doing, but don't have an ego. Like, don't have an ego about it. Whatever you're doing, be very confident that you're doing it right, but, like, if somebody, has a different thing, and then drama-free is the one I always harp at. We will let people go for creating drama, and I always tell I have 3
Mm.
boys. I'm always like, "I didn't have a girl, so guess what? Guys just punch each other and get it over with, and we don't want any drama." And, I think that that flows into kind of our company culture too and how we approach problems.
I love it. Oh, I have 2 boys as well, and, you think that the girls create the drama, but my boys sure, they do a good job of creating the drama.
It's a different drama, though. It's like
It's a di
I sat on your pillow with my butt drama, not like a,
Right.
drama that's gonna go on and on and on. So there is drama. Let's be serious.
Yes.
It's different. It's rough and tough and loud.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
in order for Spark Rep to continue to grow, is it just sort of adding more brands to the platform, introducing the company, everywhere that you possibly can? Is that sort of what the goal continues to be?
There's a couple different ways that we're set to grow. One is kind of these adjacent verticals that we wanna lean into and do exactly what we did with golf.
Mhm.
The second is to really double down on what we could do to help the retailers and become that true commerce layer. So
Mm.
right now, I mean, B2B and the retailers use the platform for free, but looking at those individuals, like what can we be providing for them that they might have acute pain for or need, something to streamline or operationalize, or how can we have impact on their day to day? We already do
Yeah.
to a sense, but we have some product expansion there, integrating into POS systems and being able to now pull back inventory and some things like that. And then we have some other really cool features and functionality. We launched our AR hub, which is now an extension of the accounts receivable team.
Oh,
And
wow.
that lets us do some integrated payments and things like that, that gets really excited once you can, take advantage. Last year we had over $1 billion transacted through the platform. So how can we help with the payments of all of those invoices? So we're launching that,
Yeah.
and that should be a big growth lever as well.
Oh, amazing. Well, if people want to get in touch with you, whether they're brands in some of these
Voila.
other verticals, manufacturers, or just other women entrepreneurs that are growing and scaling companies, and just wanting to ask you, what are some of your tips? How can they get in touch with you?
Feel free to email me. You can post that. It's Megan is spelled really weird, Meghann .butcher at RepSpark. Yes, feel free. I love connecting with people. It's my favorite thing to do, connecting and talking. Everyone looks at my calendar and be like, "You're booked back to back." I'm like, "I know, but it's just talking to great people usually." I mean,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Every once in a while. Not
Every
so
once
much.
in a while, but yes, I love to connect, and, it's fun. Every connection leads to another connection. Like, even when we hopped on, you're like, "I know RepSpark because of this." I'm like, "That's so
Yeah.
great," and
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun to see the connections.
Well, I hope to see you at the PGA show in January in Orlando.
We will be there. Are you going to the one in July in Frisco?
I don't I don't think we are. I think we did it last July, and I don't think we're going this year. But
Okay.
we're definitely going to the bigger one in January in Orlando.
So fun. Yes, one of
Yeah.
my favorites.
Awesome. Well, it was so wonderful having you on the show. Thank you so much for spending your time with us here today and for telling us all about you, your story, and RepSpark's growth journey. We appreciate it so much. Thanks,
Thank
Megan.
thank you for having me.
If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently, please take a moment to leave a 5-star rating and review. It's not just about boosting the show, it's about amplifying the voices of women entrepreneurs who are leading with vision, building with purpose, and shaping what's next. We need more of these conversations in the world right now, don't you think? And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who matters to you, send this episode to them. If there's something on your mind about leadership, legacy, or what's next, I want to hear it. Head to sheleadsmedia.com/voice and leave a voice memo or note. Your insight might just help shape a future episode. Make sure to follow the show and come back next week for more conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Thank you so much for listening.
This is the She Leads Podcast Network.